What if the heaviest chains holding you back from a life of abundance are not in your bank account, but in your prayers? What if the very beliefs you hold as sacred, as spiritual, are the invisible walls of the prison you find yourself in? This silent inner war between your soul's highest calling and your desire for financial peace is the source of all scarcity. It is a profound energetic contradiction. And today, we will end it. This is not a financial seminar. It is an alchemical initiation. Welcome to the Abundance Alchemist. I'm Elias Vance. The journey we are about to embark upon together will take you through the 12 foundational principles of sacred wealth, a system designed to heal the deepest roots of spiritual money, guilt, and align you with the effortless flow of universal prosperity. If you are ready to stop fighting with reality and start co-creating with it, let these principles be your guide. And if you wish to continue this journey of transformation with us, ensure you have subscribed to the channel. This is more than a subscription. It is a declaration of your commitment to your own becoming. Our work has only just begun. Introduction: the unspoken war. Within, let us begin in the only place where true change is possible. Within. I want you to locate a feeling inside of you. It's a subtle one, often masquerading as something else. It's that slight discomfort when you receive a large sum of money. It's that quiet voice that whispers, "Who am I to want this much?" When you allow yourself to dream big. It's that feeling of being a fraud. When you, a person on a spiritual path, admit that you desire a life of comfort, of beauty, of financial freedom. This is the energy of spiritual guilt. It is the result of a story, a devastatingly effective story, that has been programmed into our collective consciousness for centuries. The story that God and gold are enemies. That to serve one, you must forsake the other. That holiness is found in poverty, and wealth is the domain of the spiritually bankrupt. This belief creates an impossible choice. It forces you to sever yourself in two. Your spirit pulls you toward expansion, joy, and the full expression of your potential, while your conditioned mind pulls you back toward limitation, telling you that to be good, you must remain small. And so, if you have ever asked yourself, why does the law of attraction not work for me with money? The answer is right here. You cannot attract what you are subconsciously repelling. You cannot welcome a guest into your home if you secretly believe they are a villain who will corrupt you. I remember a client, a woman named Clara, who was a brilliant life coach. Her clients had incredible breakthroughs, yet she was constantly struggling, living month to month. We discovered that in her mind her work was a sacred calling, and money was dirty energy. Can you see the problem? She was trying to fund her sacred calling with what she perceived as dirty energy. Every time she prepared an invoice, her entire nervous system would flood with shame. Her subconscious, in its attempt to keep her pure, was actively ensuring she remained poor. Her breakthrough didn't come from a new marketing strategy. It came when she healed this fundamental schism within herself. That is our work today. We are not here to learn new financial hacks. We are here to perform open-heart surgery on your belief system. We will proceed through 12 principles, 12 universal laws of consciousness that, when understood and embodied, will dissolve this inner conflict and allow wealth to become what it was always meant to be, a natural, joyful, and sacred expression of your alignment with the universe. This is your journey from guilt to gold. Let us begin. Chapter 1. The Principle of Divine Neutrality. Seeing money as energy. The first and most critical step in this entire alchemical process is to strip money of the meaning you have given it. Money is not good. Money is not evil. Money is paper, metal, and digital code. It is, in its essence, a form of concentrated energy. A tool, a current. Nothing more. A hammer can be used to build a home or to break a window. Is the hammer evil? Of course not. The hammer is neutral. Its effect is determined entirely by the consciousness of the one who wields it. So it is with money. The energy of wealth will only amplify what is already within you. If you are a fearful and greedy person, more money will only make you more fearful and greedy. But if you are a generous, loving, and creative person, money will become a magnificent tool to amplify that generosity, love, and creativity into the world on a scale you cannot yet imagine. Our guilt stems from projecting our shadows onto this neutral tool. We see the greed, the corruption, the materialism in the world, and we blame the money, not the consciousness that misuses it. This is a profound spiritual error. It's like blaming the darkness for existing instead of simply turning on a light. The spiritual path is not about renouncing the tools of the world. It's about learning to use them with a higher level of consciousness. Your work is not to run from money, but to purify your own consciousness so that when it flows through you, it is used for the highest good. Think of it like electricity. It can power a hospital's life support machine, or it can power an electric chair. The electricity does not care. It simply flows where it is directed. You are the director. Every belief you hold about money is a command that directs its flow either toward you or away from you. When you believe money is the root of all evil, you are, in effect, closing the circuit. You are telling the universe, keep that dangerous energy away from me. And the universe, which always honors your free will, obliges. The journey to sacred wealth begins with this profound shift. You must consciously, deliberately, and repeatedly practice seeing money as nothing more than a neutral, powerful, and beautiful current of energy. When you hold a coin or a bill, feel its potential, not its history of misuse, but its potential in your hands. This dollar could buy a coffee for a friend. This dollar could be donated to a cause you believe in. This dollar could be invested to grow and create even more potential. You begin to see yourself not as a seeker of money, but as a conscious conductor of universal energy. This single reframe, from judgment to neutrality, is the foundation upon which all the other principles are built. It is the act of wiping the slate clean so we can write a new, more empowering story. And it is in that new story that we will find the freedom we seek. But before we can write it, we must understand the nature of the gold we wish to create. Which brings us to the next principle. Chapter 2. The principle of alchemical worthiness. Your guilt is the raw material. We have established a new foundation, a new lens through which to view the flow of prosperity, the principle of divine neutrality. We have stripped money of its false power, of the stories of good and evil we have draped upon it, and we now see it for what it is, a current of energy, a tool. But if this is true, if money is merely a neutral force, then why does it still hold such an emotional charge for so many of us? Why does the thought of receiving it, asking for it, or even wanting it, so often bring up that heavy, dense, and deeply uncomfortable feeling of guilt? This brings us to the second, and perhaps most transformative principle in our entire journey. This is where the true alchemy begins. The principle of alchemical worthiness, which can be stated simply, your guilt is not the obstacle to your transformation. It is the raw material for it. In the ancient tradition of alchemy, the practitioner never discarded the base materials. They did not throw away the lead in search of some pre-existing gold. That would be a fool's errand. The great secret, the magnum opus, was the understanding that the lead itself contained the latent potential for gold. The transformation had to happen from within the substance itself. You are the alchemist. Your consciousness is the crucible. And that feeling of guilt, that deep, unsettling whisper of unworthiness you feel around money, that is your lead. It feels heavy. It feels toxic. It feels worthless. And our every human instinct screams at us to get rid of it, to push it down, to numb it, to ignore it, to run from it, or to simply surrender to it and stay small. But the alchemist does not run. The alchemist turns toward the lead, rolls up their sleeves, and begins the great work. And I want to pause here and acknowledge something. This is uncomfortable territory. If this idea makes you want to squirm, if it feels counterintuitive to turn toward the very feeling you've been trying to escape your whole life, good. That means we are touching on a profound truth. It means we are close to the wound that needs to be healed. So, take a breath. Be here with me. Your courage to face this is the very fire that will fuel your transformation. Let's get tangible. What is this feeling, really? It's that quiet, nagging voice in the back of your mind that whispers, you're not good enough, that you don't deserve it. It's the tightening in your chest when you're about to send an invoice for your true value. It's the knot in your stomach when you look at the price tag of something that would bring you genuine joy. It's the hot flush of shame that comes when you compare your financial situation to someone else's. This is the energy of unworthiness. It is a dense, sticky, and powerful vibration, and its sole purpose is to keep you in a reality that matches its frequency, a reality of struggle, of not enough, of just getting by. I remember this principle coming to life so clearly with a client of mine, an artist we can call Isabel. Her studio was a sanctuary of light and color, the air thick with the smell of turpentine and linseed oil. Sunlight would catch the dust motes dancing in the air, illuminating these canvases that were just breathtaking. They were infused with a spiritual depth that could quiet your mind just by looking at them. But Isabel was struggling, barely able to afford her materials. She confessed to me, her voice barely a whisper, "Elias, I feel sick when I have to price my work. It feels greedy, like I'm tainting the gift by putting a number on it. Like a true artist should be willing to suffer for their art. Do you see the programming, the leaden beliefs she was carrying? The story that her gift and her survival were enemies. We sat with that feeling of guilt she described. Instead of trying to reason it away or cover it with affirmations, we turned toward it. I asked her, what is this guilt truly trying to tell you? What is it protecting? She closed her eyes, and after a long silence, the truth came out. It's telling me that if I become a successful artist, she said, making air quotes with her fingers, I'll become one of those people. Soulless, commercial. I'll lose the magic. The guilt is trying to keep my art pure by keeping me poor. That was the moment. The aha, the revelation. Her guilt wasn't a moral failing. It was a misguided protection mechanism. It was the lead presenting itself for transmutation. Her work wasn't to destroy the guilt, but to alchemize it by giving that protective part of her a new, more empowering job. We reframed the narrative. What if charging her worth wasn't an act of greed, but an act of profound respect for the gift that flowed through her? What if financial success didn't mean selling out, but meant she could afford a bigger studio, better materials, and the freedom to create even more healing art for the world without the constant gnawing anxiety of survival? She began to see that her poverty wasn't honoring her gift. It was stifling it. Her guilt wasn't protecting her purity. It was choking her potential. The lead began to glow. This is the alchemical process you can begin right now. It is a 3-step inner discipline. First is acknowledgement. The next time you feel that familiar pang of money guilt, when you get an unexpected bill, or when you feel envy, or when you're about to ask for a raise, your first step is to simply pause. Do not react. Do not push it away. Simply say to yourself internally, "Ah, there you are. I see you. Welcome." You greet it like an old, familiar messenger, not an invading enemy. This simple act of non-resistance is profoundly powerful. It stops the war. Second is detachment. You must understand that you are not the feeling. You are the consciousness that is aware of the feeling. Imagine you are the vast, infinite blue sky. Your feelings, joy, sadness, and this guilt are just clouds passing through. A cloud can be dark and stormy, but it can never, ever harm the sky. It is not the sky. Your work is to shift your identity from the cloud to the sky. You observe the feeling of guilt. You notice its texture, its temperature, its location in your body. But you do not merge with it. You create a space of awareness around it. Third, and this is the most crucial, is curious inquiry. You become a compassionate scientist of your own inner world. You turn to this feeling of guilt, this leaden cloud, and you ask it questions. Not with judgment, but with genuine childlike curiosity. You ask, what are you here to teach me? You ask, what old story or belief are you representing? You ask, what part of me believes I am not safe to receive? You ask, what are you trying to protect me from? You don't need to get an immediate booming answer. The act of asking is what matters. The act of asking shifts you from a place of victimhood to a place of empowered inquiry. You are taking the raw material of your pain and placing it in the crucible of your awareness. And your loving, non-judgmental attention is the alchemical fire that begins the transmutation. What happens when you practice this consistently is nothing short of miraculous. You begin to realize something that will change your life forever. The feeling of guilt and unworthiness is not a stop sign. It is not a cosmic judgment that you are bad or wrong for wanting more. It is a treasure map. The guilt is a homing beacon. It points with perfect, unerring accuracy to the exact location of the next limiting belief that is ready to be healed and released. When it arises, it is a gift. The universe is saying, here, look here. This is the next chain you get to break. This is the next door to a greater freedom. When you truly understand this, your entire relationship with the feeling changes. You no longer dread it. You might not like it, but you begin to welcome it as a sign that you are on the verge of a breakthrough. You are leveling up. The discomfort is not a sign that you are failing. It is the friction that precedes expansion. The snake must struggle to shed its old skin. The chick must fight its way out of the egg. The pain is not the end of the process. It is an inseparable part of the transformation. Your worthiness, you see, is not the prize at the end of this journey. It is not something you gain once you have transmuted all your guilt. That is the old paradigm. The alchemical truth is that your worthiness is unconditional, infinite, and pre-existing. It was never in question. It is the bedrock of your being. The lead of your guilt has simply been obscuring it, hiding its radiant shine. So the work is not to become worthy. The work is to dissolve and transmute everything that has ever made you believe you were not worthy. Every inherited story, every painful memory, every societal program. Each time a pang of guilt arises and you meet it with this alchemical process, you are dissolving another layer of that leaden dust, allowing more of your innate, golden worthiness to shine through. Now that we know how to work with the lead, how to use our guilt as the very fuel for our journey, we must turn our attention to the gold itself. We must understand the nature of what we are uncovering. For this gold is not money. Money is simply a reflection of it. The true gold is a profound, unshakable cellular knowing of your own value. It is a state of being that must be consciously claimed. This is our next step, the vital and often misunderstood third principle, the principle of sacred entitlement. Chapter 3, the principle of sacred entitlement. Reclaiming your birthright, we have journeyed into the shadow. We have stood before the roaring fire of our own guilt and chosen not to flee, but to see it for what it is, the raw, leaden material of our own transformation. We have learned to hold it, to question it, to use its very density as the fuel for our alchemical work, transmuting it layer by layer into the radiant gold of our own innate worthiness. And this brings us to a critical juncture in our journey. For once we begin to uncover this gold, we are faced with a new and for many an even more challenging question. Am I allowed to claim it? Am I allowed to possess it, to embody it, to live from this place of worth? This leads us directly to our third principle, a principle that I can almost guarantee will provoke a reaction in you. It is built upon a word that has been so twisted, so maligned by the ego, that our spiritual senses have been trained to recoil from it. That word is entitlement. I want you to just notice what happened in your body when I said that word. Did you tense up? Did a wave of resistance wash over you? Did your mind conjure images of arrogance, of selfishness, of someone demanding something they haven't earned? If it did, that is perfectly normal. It is the conditioned response of a consciousness that has been taught that humility and worthiness are opposites. And so, our work here is one of reclamation. We are here to rescue this powerful, beautiful, and absolutely essential concept from the clutches of the ego and restore it to its sacred origins. We are not speaking of the brittle, demanding entitlement of a child who screams, "I want it now." We are speaking of the quiet, profound, and unshakable entitlement of the sun, which does not ask for permission to shine. We are speaking of sacred entitlement. The great misunderstanding is this: egoic entitlement is the belief that the world owes you something. It is an external demand born from an internal feeling of lack. It is loud, it is needy, and it is forever trying to prove itself. Sacred entitlement, however, is the exact opposite. It is the internal cellular knowing that you are inherently worthy of receiving the infinite abundance that is already flowing from the universe at all times. It is not a demand, it is an allowance. It is not an act of taking, it is the art of receiving. It comes from a place of wholeness, not of lack. Imagine a grand royal palace. In this palace lives a prince, the sole heir to an infinite kingdom. One day, through a strange twist of fate, he suffers a blow to the head and develops amnesia. He wanders out of the palace gates, forgetting who he is, forgetting his lineage, forgetting the boundless wealth that is his birthright. He finds himself in the city, and knowing nothing else, he becomes a pauper. He begs for scraps. He believes that his reality is one of struggle and scarcity. He works tirelessly, trying to earn his next meal, celebrating when he finds a single coin in the dirt. Now I ask you, is the prince's wealth any less real simply because he has forgotten it? Does his belief in scarcity change the fact that an entire kingdom belongs to him? No, of course not. The riches are still there waiting. His suffering comes not from a lack of resources, but from a lack of memory. His work is not to earn his way back into the palace. His work is simply to remember who he is. The moment he remembers his true identity, his entitlement to the kingdom is not created. It is instantly restored. You, my friend, are that prince. You have been living in a state of spiritual amnesia, taught by the world that you are a pauper who must struggle and strive and endlessly prove your worthiness to receive the scraps the world deigns to offer. You've been conditioned to believe that your value is something you must build from the outside in. I once worked with a man named Marcus. He was a brilliant software engineer who had grown up in a family of builders and mechanics. His father, a man he respected deeply, had a simple motto: if you don't sweat for it, it ain't worth it. Marcus had internalized this belief so deeply that it became his operating system. He built a successful app, a truly innovative piece of technology, and he sold it for a life-changing amount of money, and it made him miserable. He was riddled with anxiety. He felt like a complete fraud. He came to me, deeply distressed, and said, "Elias, I feel like I cheated. I sat in a comfortable chair and typed. I didn't pour concrete. I didn't swing a hammer. I didn't sweat. My father worked his fingers to the bone for 40 years and never saw a fraction of this. I haven't earned this. I don't deserve it." His guilt was immense. He was a prince, sitting in the treasury, believing he was a pauper who had somehow stolen the king's gold. The money in his bank account was a constant source of shame because it didn't align with his conditioned story of what it meant to be a worthy man. His transformation began when we worked on this very principle. He had to sever the link between his sense of worth and the method by which abundance arrived. He had to practice the truth that he is worthy not because of his labor, not because of his sweat, but because of his very existence. That the universe could deliver abundance to him through an idea just as validly as it could through a hard day's work. This is the shift that sacred entitlement requires. It is the conscious decision to stop trying to fill your bucket of worthiness each day with the little pebbles of your accomplishments, your productivity, your sacrifices. Instead, you must turn your attention inward and realize that your worthiness is not a bucket to be filled. It is an infinite spring, eternally overflowing from the core of your being. It has never been empty. It can never run dry. Your only job is to stop building dams of guilt and unworthiness that block its natural flow into your life. Let's try a thought experiment. For the next 60 seconds, I want you to truly entertain the idea that your worth is absolute and non-negotiable. It is not dependent on your bank balance, your job title, your relationship status, or how many things you ticked off your to-do list today. It simply is. Like the sky simply is. Breathe into that. What does that feel like? It might feel scary. It might feel liberating. It might feel untrue. That's okay. We are just trying it on. What if you didn't have to earn your right to a joyful, abundant, peaceful life? What if your only task was to allow yourself to receive it? This is the art of allowing. It is the practice of saying yes to the universe. When someone offers you a compliment, instead of deflecting it, "Oh, this old thing," you breathe, make eye contact and say, "Thank you. I receive that." When an opportunity appears, instead of immediately listing all the reasons why you're not ready, you say, "Thank you. I'm open to this." When you receive money, whether it's your paycheck or a gift, you take a moment to feel genuine gratitude and say, "Thank you. I allow this to flow into my life." These are not just words. They are declarations of remembrance. Each one is an act of reclaiming your forgotten royalty. You are practicing the truth of your identity as a worthy, divine being, to whom all the abundance of the kingdom is available. So, the principle of sacred entitlement is not a call to arrogance. It is a call to remembrance. It is the gentle but firm inner work of dissolving the illusion of the pauper and stepping back into the truth of the prince. It is the understanding that you are not separate from the abundance you seek. You are a living, breathing expression of it. But it is one thing to know this, to feel this sense of worthiness welling up from within. It is another to understand how this inner state of being actually communicates with the universe to shape our outer reality. How does this inner knowing of our sacred entitlement actually begin to attract the physical evidence of wealth? This requires a deep understanding of the very fabric of reality itself. It requires that we become conscious broadcasters in a vibrational universe. And that brings us to our fourth and most foundational principle of manifestation, the principle of energetic resonance. Chapter 4, the principle of energetic resonance, becoming a vibrational match. We stand now on solid ground. We have accepted that money is neutral energy, a tool to be wielded by consciousness. We have bravely turned to face the lead of our own guilt, understanding it not as a barrier, but as the very fuel for our alchemical transformation into worthiness. And from that emerging worthiness, we have begun to reclaim our sacred entitlement, the quiet, cellular knowing that we are not paupers begging for scraps, but royal heirs to an infinite kingdom, whose only task is to remember our true identity. And now, we arrive at the mechanics of creation itself. We move from the philosophical to the physical, from the inner work of being to the outer manifestation of having. How precisely does this inner state of worthiness and entitlement translate into tangible wealth in our bank accounts? How does the feeling become the fact? The answer lies in our fourth and perhaps most fundamental principle, the principle of energetic resonance. This may be a concept you have heard of before, perhaps under a different name, the law of attraction, vibrational alignment, or frequency matching. But I invite you to set aside any previous understanding, especially the simplistic pop culture versions that have often created more confusion than clarity. We are not talking about a cosmic vending machine where you insert positive thoughts and get back material possessions. The universe is not your servant. It is your mirror. The principle of energetic resonance is the law that governs what that mirror reflects. At its core, the principle is this: everything in the universe, from the chair you are sitting on to the thoughts in your head, is energy vibrating at a specific frequency. And attracts like a particular frequency can only attract, perceive, and coexist with energies that are vibrating at a similar or compatible frequency. Think of a tuning fork. If you have a tuning fork calibrated to the note of C and you strike it, it begins to vibrate, emitting the sound of C. Now, if you bring another C tuning fork nearby, it will begin to vibrate and hum in sympathy without ever being touched. This is resonance. But if you bring a G tuning fork nearby, what happens? Nothing. It remains silent. It is not on the same frequency. It literally cannot perceive or respond to the vibration of see you, my friend, are a human tuning fork. Your dominant emotional state, the baseline feeling that runs beneath the surface of your daily life, is the note you are constantly broadcasting out into the universal field. This is your vibrational signature or your emotional set point, and the universe, in its perfect, impersonal, and unerring wisdom, can only deliver to you people, circumstances, and experiences that are a resonant match for that broadcast. It cannot deliver a G-note experience to a C-note broadcast. It is a law of physics. Now let us bring this back to our journey. What is the frequency of guilt, of shame, of unworthiness? It is a low, dense, slow, and heavy vibration. It is the energetic equivalent of a low, discordant hum. When you are broadcasting the frequency of, I am not worthy of wealth, what can the universe possibly deliver to you? It can only deliver experiences that match that belief. Unexpected bills, clients who haggle over your prices, job opportunities that are just out of reach, a car that breaks down. These are not punishments. They are not bad luck. They are perfect, resonant reflections of the note you are holding with your tuning fork. I once worked with a gentleman named Arthur, a financial advisor who, ironically, was in a constant state of financial anxiety himself. He knew all the strategies, all the market trends, all the practical steps. He was brilliant on paper, but his inner world was a mess. His father had lost everything in a market crash, and Arthur had inherited a deep, cellular terror of losing money. Even though he consciously wanted wealth, his dominant emotional state was fear. Fear of loss, fear of scarcity. Elias, he said to me, his hands clenched, I do everything right. I make the right investments. I give my clients the best advice. But for me, it's always one step forward, two steps back. A good month is always followed by a disaster. Arthur was a C-tuning fork, desperately trying to create a G-note reality. His conscious mind was saying, I want wealth, but his nervous system, his emotional body, was screaming the song of fear, 24 hours a day. The universe wasn't responding to his words. It was responding to his music. His work wasn't to find a better investment strategy. His work was to change his tune. He had to heal the trauma that was causing him to hold that tuning fork of fear. He had to learn to broadcast the frequency of security, of trust, of ease, even before his bank account gave him permission to do so. And this is the great secret that is so often missed. You do not get what you want. You do not even get what you think. You get what you are. You get a reflection of your vibrational being. This is why positive thinking alone so often fails. You can stand in front of the mirror and repeat, I am wealthy 1,000 times, but if you are doing it from a state of clenched, desperate, anxious need, what frequency are you actually broadcasting? You are broadcasting need. You are broadcasting lack. You are screaming to the universe, I am not wealthy, with every fiber of your being. And the universe, your faithful mirror, will simply reflect more circumstances that make you feel the lack of wealth. The work, then, is not to change your thoughts first. The work is to change your frequency. It is to learn how to consciously generate the feeling of the reality you desire before it manifests. This is not faking it. This is creating it. Let us practice this right now. I want you to close your eyes just for a moment if it is safe to do so. Take a deep breath. I want you to forget about the word money. Forget about numbers in a bank account. Instead, I want you to connect with the feeling you believe more money would bring you. Is it freedom? Is it security? Is it peace? Is it ease? Is it joy? Pick one. Let's choose security. What does the pure, unconditional feeling of security feel like in your body? Where do you feel it? Perhaps it's a warm, calm sensation in your solar plexus. Perhaps it's a relaxation in your shoulders, a releasing of a tension you didn't even know you were holding. I want you to breathe into that feeling. Forget the why and just focus on the what. Generate that feeling of pure, grounded, unshakable security right here, right now. For the next 30 seconds, make that feeling your entire universe. You are not trying to attract security. You are security. Now open your eyes. What you just did was shift your frequency. For a brief moment, you struck the tuning fork of security. You broadcast a new note into the field. The principle of energetic resonance states that if you can learn to hold that frequency as your dominant state of being, the universe must, by law, begin to rearrange itself to bring you circumstances that are a perfect match for that feeling. It has no other choice. This is the real work of manifestation. It is an internal energetic discipline. It is the art of becoming a vibrational match for the reality you wish to inhabit. Your affirmations, your vision boards, your goals, these are not the work itself. They are merely tools. They are tools to help you generate the required feeling. If your vision board makes you feel joyful and expansive, it is a powerful tool. If it makes you feel needy and aware of how far you have to go, it is a detrimental tool. The only question that matters is, how does this make me feel? Because that feeling is your point of attraction. So your journey to wealth is not a journey of accumulation. It is a journey of calibration. It's about patiently, persistently, and lovingly tuning your own instrument, your emotional body, to the frequency of abundance, which is simply the frequency of love, joy, peace, and security. You are learning to play the music of the reality you wish to join. And as you become more adept at holding this new resonance, you will find that the world begins to respond in kind. But this is not a passive process. Holding the vibration is the first part of the equation. The universe will then present you with resonant opportunities, with doors that are energetically aligned with your new frequency. But these doors will not open themselves. You must still walk through them. This means that your inner state of being must be grounded in a new form of outer action. And this requires a fundamental shift in how we view our relationship with wealth and responsibility. It requires us to move beyond the idea of personal gain and into a much larger, more sacred role. It requires us to embrace our fifth principle, the principle of conscious stewardship. Chapter 5, the principle of conscious stewardship. From owner to caretaker, we are now standing in a place of immense power. We have begun the process of remembering our sacred entitlement. We have learned that the universe is not a battlefield to be conquered, but a mirror to be polished, reflecting our own inner state through the immutable law of energetic resonance. We have practiced the art of striking a new note, of calibrating our being to the frequency of security, peace and freedom, understanding that this is the true cause, and the material world is merely the effect. This realization can be intoxicating. It can feel like we have been handed the keys to the kingdom, the very code of creation. And in a sense we have. But with this power comes a profound responsibility. And this is where many on the path of manifestation falter. They begin to see this power as a tool for the ego, a means to acquire, to accumulate, to prove themselves to the world. They fall into the trap of believing the goal is simply to get more. This is the path back to lack, for the desire for more is itself a declaration that what you have is not enough. To move beyond this trap, to truly anchor ourselves in a state of sustainable, soul-aligned prosperity, we must evolve our relationship with wealth itself. We must graduate from the mindset of an owner to the consciousness of a steward. This is the fifth and deeply humbling principle, the principle of conscious stewardship. This principle states that you do not and can never truly own anything. You are not an owner. You are a caretaker. You are a manager. You are a temporary guardian of the universal energy that is flowing through your life. The money in your bank account is not yours in the ultimate sense. It is the universe's energy, which has been temporarily entrusted to your care. Your home, your car, your possessions, they are all on loan from the cosmos. Your talents, your gifts, your very body, they are sacred trusts, and I know this can feel confronting. The ego loves the concept of ownership. My money, my house, My company. It provides a sense of security, of identity, of permanence. But this sense of permanence is an illusion, and it is the source of all fear of loss. You can only fear losing that which you believe you own. But what happens when you shift your identity from owner to steward? The entire dynamic changes. The pressure lifts. The anxiety of protecting your assets begins to dissolve. It is replaced by a calm, focused, and purposeful sense of responsibility. Your new question is not, how can I get more? But rather, how can I best manage and circulate the energy that has been entrusted to me for the highest good of all? Let me share a story. I had a client, a man named Richard, who had built a very successful manufacturing business from the ground up. He had everything the world tells you is a measure of success. A vast fortune, multiple homes, a collection of luxury cars. And he was one of the most anxious, miserable human beings I have ever met. He lived in a state of perpetual low-grade terror. He trusted no one. He was obsessed with the stock market, with his security systems, with the fear that it could all be taken away from him in an instant, just as he had built it. He was a king, but a prisoner in his own kingdom. His life was a perfect example of the owner's mindset. Because he believed he owned it all, he was enslaved by the need to protect it. Our work together was a long and difficult journey to shift him into the consciousness of a steward. It began with a simple question I asked him one day. What is this wealth for, Richard? Beyond your own comfort, what is its purpose? He was stumped. He had never considered it. He had been so focused on the accumulating, on the getting, that he had never thought about the why. This single question began to unravel his entire worldview. He started to see his business not as his personal empire, but as an ecosystem that supported hundreds of employees and their families. He began to see his profits not as a personal scorecard, but as a pool of resources that could be used for something more. He eventually started a foundation, funding educational programs in the underserved communities where his factories were located. The transformation was astounding. As he began to see himself as a steward, a caretaker of this massive flow of financial energy, the fear began to recede. It was replaced by purpose. The joy he got from seeing a scholarship student graduate far surpassed any fleeting pleasure he had ever gotten from buying a new car. He was still a wealthy man, but he was no longer a prisoner of his wealth. He had become its conscious steward, and in doing so, he had found his freedom. This principle operates at every level, whether you have $10 in your pocket or 10 million. The universe is watching. It is an intelligent system. It observes how you manage the energy it has already given you. Do you treat it with respect? Do you use it consciously? Do you allow it to stagnate in fear, or do you circulate it with trust and purpose? If you have a small stream flowing through your property, and you prove that you can manage that stream responsibly, that you can use it to water a garden, to create beauty, to sustain life, without damming it up or polluting it, the source of that stream is far more likely to increase its flow. The universe works in precisely the same way. When you demonstrate that you can be a responsible steward of a small amount of financial energy, you are energetically signaling that you are ready and capable of handling a larger flow. This is why practices like tithing or conscious giving are so powerful, and not for the reasons you might think. It's not about buying blessings from God. It is a powerful, energetic declaration. When you consciously set aside a portion of your income to give away, you are training your own subconscious mind. You are acting as if you live in an abundant universe. You are declaring, I have more than enough. I have enough to meet my own needs and enough to contribute to the well-being of others. This act of stewardship, of circulating the energy, breaks the pattern of the scarcity mindset. It shifts you from a fearful hoarder into a trustful conduit. And the universe loves a clear conduit. So how do you practice this principle today? You begin by changing your language, both internally and externally. Instead of my money, try thinking, the money I am currently managing. Before you make a purchase, ask yourself a steward's question. Is this the highest and best use of this energy right now? Will this bring genuine value, or is it a fearful, impulsive act? You create a budget, not as a restrictive cage of what you can't do, but as a conscious flow plan, a deliberate and purposeful guide for how you will direct the energy you are managing. It becomes an act of mindfulness, not of restriction. By embracing the role of a conscious steward, you align yourself with the creative, expansive nature of the universe itself. You are no longer a separate entity, desperately trying to pull resources toward yourself. You become a partner, a co-creator, a trusted manager in the grand cosmic enterprise of circulation. You understand that true wealth is not about how much you can hold on to, but about how much you can responsibly allow to flow through you. And it is this very act of flow, of circulation, that brings us to the heartbeat of a healthy financial life. For every inflow, there must be an outflow. For every reception, there must be a release. This requires us to heal our relationship with the very transactions that make up our daily lives, and to see them in a new, sacred light. This is the essence of our sixth principle, the principle of grateful exchange. Chapter 6. The principle of grateful exchange, the sacred flow of giving and receiving. We are charting a course into the very heart of a new financial reality. We have recalibrated our inner world to the frequency of abundance through the principle of energetic resonance. And we have fundamentally shifted our role from that of a fearful owner to a purposeful, conscious steward. We understand now that we are not here to hoard, but to manage the flow of universal energy. And this word, flow, is everything. The universe is not a static object. It is a dynamic process. It is a constant, ceaseless, and magnificent exchange of energy. Nothing in nature holds on too tightly. The sun gives its light freely. The trees release their leaves. The ocean exhales onto the shore and inhales back into itself. Health in any system is defined by circulation. Stagnation is the beginning of decay. This brings us to the sixth principle, the principle that governs the very heartbeat of our financial lives. It is the one that transforms mundane, daily transactions into profound spiritual practice. This is the principle of grateful exchange. At its core, this principle invites you to see every single financial transaction, every dollar you spend, every invoice you send, every bill you pay, not as a loss or a gain, but as a sacred and complete circle of energy exchange. You are either giving value and receiving financial energy, or you are receiving value and giving financial energy. It is always a two-way street, and the emotion that consecrates this exchange, that elevates it from the mundane to the magical, is gratitude. Let us be honest. This is not how most of us operate. What is the dominant emotion you feel when you pay a bill? For many, it's a feeling of contraction, a wince of pain, a sense of loss. You look at your electricity bill and you think, ugh, another $100 gone. That word, gone, is a powerful, scarcity-based declaration to the universe. You are experiencing the transaction as a depletion, as a leak in your financial container. This sends a powerful signal of not enough out into the field, which, as we know from the principle of energetic resonance, will be faithfully mirrored back to you. The principle of grateful exchange invites a radical reframe. When you pick up that same electricity bill, you pause. You hold it, and instead of focusing on the money flowing out, you consciously turn your attention to the value you have already received. You think of the warm light that allowed you to read a book late into the night. You think of the hot shower that soothed your tired muscles. You think of the movie you watched with your family, the meal you cooked, the phone you charged. For an entire month, you have been the recipient of this incredible, life-enhancing energy. The bill is not a punishment. It is simply the completion of the circle. So as you make the payment, you perform a small internal ritual. You say silently or out loud, "Thank you. Thank you for the comfort, the light, and the warmth. I'm grateful for this service. I bless this money as it flows out from me to support the livelihood of everyone who made this service possible. I release it with joy, knowing that it is creating space for even more to flow in. Do you feel the difference? It is night and day. In the first scenario, you are a victim of your expenses. In the second, you are a grateful participant in a circle of value. You have transformed an act of contraction into an act of expansion. You have infused one of the most common financial acts with the high-frequency energy of gratitude, which is one of the most powerful attractors of abundance. This practice applies to everything. When you buy groceries, you are not just spending money. You are engaging in a sacred exchange with every single person who played a part in bringing that food to you. The farmer, the truck driver, the stock clerk. You bless the money as it leaves you, grateful for the nourishment you are about to receive. When you pay your rent or mortgage, you do so with profound gratitude for the shelter, the safety, and the sanctuary of your home. I remember a client, a freelance graphic designer named Maria, who was a brilliant artist but hated the business side of her work. The moment of sending an invoice filled her with such anxiety and guilt that she would often procrastinate for weeks, or worse, she would drastically undercharge just to avoid the discomfort. She loved the giving of her talent, but she was terrified of the receiving. Her energetic circuit was broken. She was trying to constantly exhale without ever inhaling, and as a result, her business was suffocating. Our work centered entirely on this principle. I asked her to reframe the invoice not as taking money from her client, but as completing the circle of value. I had her write at the bottom of every invoice, "Thank you for the opportunity to share my creativity with you." When she received the payment, her practice was not to just whisk it into her account, but to pause and say, "I gratefully receive this energy as a reflection of the value I have given. We are now complete." It took practice, but this simple shift in perception changed everything. She began to see her business not as a conflict between her art and commerce, but as a beautiful, flowing system of grateful exchange. Her confidence grew. She started charging what she was worth, not with apology, but with a calm sense of mutual respect. And the more she embraced the joy of receiving as much as the joy of giving, the more her ideal clients, who were happy to participate in that joyful exchange, began to appear. This brings us to the other side of the circle, receiving. This is often the more difficult part for spiritually minded people. But you must understand this. To refuse to receive is just as much of an imbalance as to refuse to give. When you undercharge, when you deflect a gift, when you say, "Oh, you don't have to do that," you are not being humble. You are blocking the flow. You are denying the other person the joy and blessing of their own giving. You are placing a dam in the river of universal circulation. Sacred exchange requires you to become a gracious receiver. It is an art form. It means receiving compliments, gifts, and payments with an open heart, seeing them as tangible evidence of your alignment and as a blessing to the giver. The principle of grateful exchange is the daily practice of your new abundance consciousness. It is the constant act of oiling the gears of flow. By consciously infusing every transaction with gratitude, you are actively tuning your reality. You are telling the universe again and again, "I live in a world of magnificent value and constant circulation. I'm a joyful participant in this flow. I am supported. All is well." This principle is so simple yet so profound, and it can create shifts almost immediately. If this concept of grateful exchange has sparked a new insight for you, take a moment to consider who in your life, perhaps a small business owner or a creative friend, is struggling with this very issue. Sharing this audiobook with them could be the most valuable exchange you make all day. Now let us continue our journey. We have established the inner state of resonance and the outer practice of circulation. But there is a crucial bridge that connects these two worlds. The universe will meet us halfway, but it requires us to take a step. But not just any step, not a step of desperate, fearful hustle. It requires a specific kind of action, born not from the mind but from the soul. This is the bridge we must now cross, and it is the subject of our seventh principle, The Principle of Inspired Action. Chapter 7. The Principle of Inspired Action. The Bridge Between Worlds. We are building a powerful new reality, piece by sacred piece. We have established our inner foundation, our worthiness, our entitlement, our energetic resonance. We have begun to master the outer flow, seeing ourselves as conscious stewards, participating in a constant, grateful exchange of energy. We are holding a new vibration, and we are treating the energy in our lives with a newfound respect. A beautiful inner world is being constructed. But how does this inner world build a bridge to a new outer world? How does the feeling of security translate into a paid mortgage? How does the vibration of freedom translate into a thriving business? This is where the spiritual path so often meets a point of confusion. One school of thought says you must simply sit on your meditation cushion, hold the vibration, and the universe will deliver your desires to your doorstep like a cosmic pizza. The other school of thought, the one that dominates our culture, says that your inner state is irrelevant. You must hustle, grind, and force your will upon the world through relentless, exhausting effort. Both are incomplete. Both represent a misunderstanding of the elegant dance of co-creation. The truth, the alchemical secret, lies in the synthesis of both. It is a bridge built between being and doing. This bridge is our seventh principle, a concept that will liberate you from both passive wishing and frantic striving. The principle of inspired action. Inspired action is fundamentally different from the kind of action most of us are taught to take. The action of the hustle culture is born from the mind. It is driven by fear, by a sense of lack, by the belief that if I don't make it happen, it won't happen. It is forceful, often feels heavy, and is sustained by willpower and caffeine. It is the energy of the pauper, frantically trying to earn his place in the kingdom. Inspired action, however, is born from the soul. It arises from your state of alignment. It is the natural physical extension of the new frequency you are holding. It is not driven by fear, but pulled by intuition. It does not feel heavy. It feels light, resonant, and often effortless. It is the energy of the prince, who, having remembered his identity, simply begins to walk back towards the palace, following a path that feels natural and clear. Let me make this distinction incredibly clear with an example. Imagine two entrepreneurs, both wanting to launch a new wellness business. Let's call the first one Striving Sarah. Sarah operates from the old paradigm. She wakes up filled with anxiety. She has a list of 100 things she should do. She spends hours cold calling potential clients she found in a directory, an activity she hates, and that feels like scraping nails on a chalkboard. She forces herself to post on social media 10 times a day, following a formula she read in a book, even though it feels inauthentic and draining. She is taking massive action, yes. She is a model of the hustle culture, but her action is born from a vibration of, it's not here yet, and I have to force it into existence. She is pushing a boulder uphill, and her energy is one of desperate striving. Now, let's look at inspired Isabella. Isabella operates by the principles we are discussing. Her first priority each morning is not her to-do list, but her to-be list. She meditates. She does the mirror of worth practice. She spends time generating the feeling of what it would be like to have a thriving business that helps people. She aligns her energy, then she gets quiet and listens. As she's drinking her tea, she feels a sudden, clear, and seemingly random urge to call an old friend she hasn't spoken to in years. It doesn't make sense from a business perspective. It's not on her to-do list, but the impulse feels light, clear, and curious. It feels inspired. She follows it. She calls her friend, and in the course of their conversation discovers that her friend's sister is a well-known wellness influencer who is actively looking for new, authentic businesses to feature. Her door has just opened, not through force, but through flow. Do you see the difference? Sarah's action is like trying to kick down a locked door. Isabella's action is like being handed the key. This is the nature of inspired action. It often doesn't look logical to the rational mind. The rational mind operates on past data. It can only connect the dots looking backward. Intuition, the voice of the soul, connects the dots looking forward. It has access to the entire field of information. Your job, once you have set your frequency, is to learn to listen for its whispers and trust its nudges. These nudges come in many forms. A sudden urge to go to a specific coffee shop, where you coincidentally bump into a perfect collaborator. An idea for a new service that seems to download into your mind out of nowhere while you're in the shower. The impulse to finally sign up for that class you've been thinking about, where you meet your biggest client. The quiet feeling that you should not sign a contract that, on the surface, looks perfect. The key is to discern the quality of the impulse. Action born of fear, anxiety, or shoulds feels contractive and heavy. It's a have to. Inspired action feels expansive and light, even if it's a little scary. It's a get to. It's characterized by a sense of curiosity, flow, and rightness. I once worked with a writer who'd been trying to get a book deal for years. He was the classic striver, sending out hundreds of query letters, networking obsessively, trying to force his way into the industry. He was getting nowhere and was on the verge of burning out. We worked on shifting his energy from striving to alignment. He stopped all the frantic activity and focused on simply falling back in love with the act of writing itself, generating the feeling of being a successful, respected author. One afternoon, while meditating, he got a clear, vivid image of an old, forgotten short story he had written in college. The impulse to find it and read it was overwhelming. It felt light and exciting. He spent a day digging through old boxes and finally found it. As he read it, he realized it contained the seed of the entire novel he was meant to write. He abandoned his old project and, in a state of pure creative flow, wrote the new book in 3 months. That was the book that landed him a major publishing deal. The inspired action was not send more letters. It was look in the old box. This is a path of trust. It requires you to let go of the ego's need to control every outcome and to have a 10-step plan for everything. You do your part. You align your energy. You become a vibrational match. You steward your resources with gratitude. Then you create space. You listen. And you develop the courage to act on the intuitive whispers that arise from that space. This is the bridge that connects the inner and outer worlds. Your aligned state of being sends out the signal. The universe, responding to that signal, arranges circumstances and sends back an inspired impulse. Your acting on that impulse is you doing your part. It is you walking across the bridge. It is the dance of co-creation. You are not a passive bystander, nor are you a lone warrior. You are a dancer, listening to the music of the cosmos and allowing it to move your feet. But what happens when the path forward feels blocked, not by a lack of inspiration, but by the heavy weight of the past? What about the old mistakes, the debts, the regrets that anchor our energy and prevent us from even hearing the music in the first place? Before we can truly dance, we must release these chains. We must perform a sacred act of clearing. And for that, we need a powerful practical ritual. This brings us to our 8th principle, the principle of the forgiveness ledger. Chapter 8, the principle of the forgiveness ledger, a practical ritual for clearing debt. We have journeyed far. We have calibrated our inner frequency and learned to dance with the universe through the rhythm of inspired action. We are building a powerful new energetic template for a life of abundance. But even with the most beautiful architectural plans, you cannot build a sturdy temple upon unstable ground. If the foundation is cluttered with the debris of the past, old resentments, lingering shame, and the heavy chains of regret, then any new structure we build will be fragile, forever at risk of collapsing under the weight of what has not been cleared. This brings us to a moment of profound and necessary catharsis. We must now turn our loving attention to the past, not to dwell there, but to perform a sacred act of release. So many of us are unknowingly carrying a heavy, energetic backpack filled with the ghosts of our financial past. Every mistake, every bad investment, every dollar we feel we've wasted, every person we resent for a financial wrong, every ounce of shame we feel about our debt, each one is a heavy stone in that backpack. And we carry it with us day after day, wondering why we are so tired, why the journey forward feels like such a monumental effort. It is time to empty the backpack. It is time to clear the foundation. For this, we need more than just an intention. We need a ritual. The subconscious mind, the keeper of these old wounds, responds powerfully to ceremony, to symbolic acts that make the intangible tangible. This is the purpose of our 8th principle, a practice I call the principle of the forgiveness ledger. This is perhaps the most intensely practical and emotionally potent exercise in our entire journey. It is an act of spiritual accounting, where the goal is not to balance the books, but to wipe the slate clean. I urge you not to simply listen to these words, but to commit to undertaking this ritual. It can and will create an immediate and palpable shift in your energy. Here is the process. You will need a few simple things. At least 30 minutes of uninterrupted time, a quiet space where you feel safe, a pen, and a piece of paper. Not a computer, not a phone. The physical act of writing is a crucial part of this process. It connects your conscious intention to your physical body. Take your piece of paper and draw a vertical line down the center. At the top of the left-hand column, write the heading, Energetic Debts. At the top of the right-hand column, write, Released and Forgiven. Now take a few deep, centering breaths. You are creating a sacred space for healing. In the left-hand column, you're going to begin a process of radical, unflinching honesty. You are going to write down every single financial memory, belief, and situation that still carries a negative emotional charge for you. This is your confession, with no priest but your own higher self. You are bringing the shadows into the light. Let nothing be too small or too large. What do you write? You write down the shame you feel for your credit card debt. The number itself. You write down the resentment you still hold towards a family member who never paid you back. You write down the anger you feel at yourself for that stupid business decision you made 5 years ago. You write down the inherited belief from your mother that you have to suffer to make a living. You write down the painful memory of a time you couldn't afford something for your child. You write down the judgment you hold against wealthy people, the secret belief that they are all greedy or unethical. This is a debt. 2. A debt against abundance itself. You write down the name of the ex-partner whose financial irresponsibility still affects you. Keep writing. Dig deep. Let the emotions come. If you feel anger, let it flow through the pen onto the paper. If you feel tears of shame or regret, let them fall. This is not an intellectual exercise. This is an emotional exorcism. You are lancing the wound to let the poison out. As you write each item, I want you to truly feel its weight. Acknowledge the space it has been taking up in your energy field. Acknowledge the story you have been telling yourself about it. This is the lead in its rawest, most concentrated form. Thank it for the lessons it has taught you about what you no longer wish to carry. I once guided a client, a woman named Sandra, through this very process. She had been carrying a deep, secret shame for decades over a bankruptcy in her early 20s. She'd never spoken of it to anyone, not even her husband. It was her monster in the closet. When she finally wrote it down on her ledger, she began to sob uncontrollably. It was a storm of grief for the young, naive woman she had been, a release of 30 years of self-punishment. The act of simply writing it down, of bringing it out of the darkness of her mind and onto a physical piece of paper, was the beginning of her liberation. She saw it for what it was, not an indictment of her entire worth as a human being, but a single chapter in a long life. A chapter that was long overdue to be closed. When you feel you have emptied everything out, when the well of your memory runs dry, your work in the first column is done. Now place your hand over your heart. Take another deep breath. You are about to become the alchemist. One by one, you will address each item on your energetic debts list. Read the first item aloud. Feel its charge one last time. And then, take your pen and draw a firm, decisive line through it. As you do, you will move to the released and forgiven column, and you will write a corresponding statement of release. You can use these words or find your own. I fully and completely forgive myself for this experience. I release all shame and judgment. I reclaim the energy I have lost here. This is complete. I fully and completely forgive. Person's name. I release all anger and resentment. I understand they were doing the best they could with the consciousness they had. I reclaim my power and my peace. This is complete. I fully and completely forgive and release this limiting belief. I see that it was never truly mine. It no longer serves me. I release it from my energy field now. This is complete. Say the words of forgiveness out loud. Let the vibration of your own voice be the catalyst for the change. As you strike through each debt and write its corresponding release, you must feel it. Feel the chain breaking. Feel the weight lifting from your shoulders. This is a conscious act of severing your energetic ties to the past. You are not condoning past behavior, your own or anyone else's. You are not saying it was okay. You are making a sovereign choice that you will no longer allow the events of the past to consume the energy of your present. Forgiveness is the act of setting a prisoner free, only to discover that the prisoner was you. Continue this process until every single item in the debts column has been struck through and marked as forgiven. When you are finished, look at the page. The left side is now null and void. All that remains is a list of release, of forgiveness, of reclaimed power. This is the new truth of your energetic history. Your slate is clean. Now for the final symbolic act. You must destroy the ledger. This is non-negotiable. You cannot keep it. To keep it would be to hold on to the very energy you have just released. Take the paper and in a safe and conscious manner burn it. Watch the flames consume the old stories, turning the paper and the ink into smoke and ash. As you watch it burn, visualize all that heavy, dense, painful energy dissolving, returning to the universe as neutral, raw potential. Alternatively, you can tear it into the smallest possible pieces and bury it in the earth, allowing nature to transmute it. When the ritual is complete, be still. Notice how you feel, lighter, clearer, more present. You have just performed a profound act of spiritual and energetic hygiene. You have cleared the foundation. With this newfound clarity, with this empty space you have created, you are now ready to build something new in its place. You have cleared away what you are not. Now it is time to anchor deeply into the truth of what you are. For that, we need a practice not of release, but of imprinting. We must gaze into the mirror of our own soul and begin to recognize the divinity looking back. This brings us to our 9th principle, the principle of the mirror of worth. Chapter 9, the principle of the mirror of worth. A daily practice for self-image. We have just emerged from a profound cleansing. With the forgiveness ledger, we have walked through the ashes of our past, consciously releasing the heavy stones of guilt, shame, and resentment that have burdened our journey. We have cleared the foundation. A clean, open, and sacred space has been created within you, and this is a moment of immense potential, but nature abhors a vacuum. If we do not consciously choose what to plant in this newly tilled soil, the old familiar weeds of self-doubt and unworthiness will inevitably begin to creep back in. They are habitual. They are familiar. The grooves in our psyche are deep. Therefore, releasing the old is only half of the alchemical equation. The other half is the conscious and deliberate imprinting of the new. We have cleared away the illusion of who we are not. Now we must anchor ourselves deeply and unshakably in the truth of who we are. This is not a journey of building or creating worthiness. It is a journey of remembering a worthiness that has always been present, buried beneath the debris. For this, we require a practice, not an intellectual idea, but a daily embodied discipline that rewires our very nervous system. This is our 9th principle, A practice that is as simple as it is profoundly life-altering, the principle of the mirror of worth. I must be honest with you. For many, this practice will feel intensely uncomfortable at first. It may feel awkward, embarrassing, or even arrogant. And if it does, I want you to celebrate that feeling. That discomfort is the sound of the old programming screaming in protest. It is the friction of a new neurological pathway being forged. It is the definitive sign that the practice is working. Your willingness to move through that initial resistance is the key that will unlock its power. The practice itself is simple in its form. All you need is yourself, a mirror, and 5 minutes of absolute privacy where you will not be disturbed. This is not a casual glance while brushing your teeth. This is a dedicated, sacred appointment with your own soul. Here is the ritual. Stand before the mirror. Settle your body, plant your feet firmly on the ground, and take 3 deep breaths. Now I want you to look into your own eyes. I don't mean look at your face, at the lines, at the blemishes, at the hair that's out of place. The mind will try to distract you with these superficial judgments. Gently guide your focus past all of that and connect with the light in your own eyes. The ancient wisdom traditions call the eyes the windows to the soul for a reason. You are going to bypass the ego and speak directly to the essence of your being. Just hold that gaze for a minute. Simply be present with the person looking back at you. This in itself can be a powerful and emotional experience. You are giving yourself the gift of your own undivided, non-judgmental attention, something you may not have truly done in years. After you have established this connection, you are going to begin speaking. You will speak a series of declarations of truth out loud. The out loud part is crucial. Your subconscious mind learns through repetition, emotion, and sensory input. Hearing your own voice speak these truths creates a powerful feedback loop that begins to overwrite the old, silent internal monologue of the inner critic. You will hold your own gaze, and with as much sincerity as you can muster, you will say the following: I see you. Pause. Let that land. Feel the power of being truly seen by yourself. I am worthy of love. Breathe. Notice any resistance. Just notice it and let it be there. I am worthy of joy. I am worthy of peace. And now we come to the declarations that are most relevant to our work together. They may be the most challenging to say. Say them anyway. I am worthy of wealth. Hold your gaze. Do not look away. Even if your mind is screaming liar, you keep your eyes locked with your own, and you hold the space. I am worthy of abundance in all its forms. I am a divine being, and I am worthy of receiving all the good the universe has to offer. I am willing to see myself as the universe sees me, whole, perfect, and complete. I want you to repeat this sequence, or your own variation of it, for the full 5 minutes. This is not about robotic repetition. It is about a heartfelt transmission. With each repetition, try to infuse the words with a little more feeling, a little more belief. Let's talk about what will likely happen. At first, the words may feel hollow. You will be acutely aware that you don't fully believe them. This does not matter. I want to repeat that. Your initial belief in the words is irrelevant. Your job is not to believe them at the start. Your job is simply to show up, look yourself in the eye, and say them. You are planting seeds. You do not yell at a seed and demand that it become a tree overnight. You simply plant it in good soil and give it water and light, and you trust the process. Your consistent attention and spoken word are the water and light for these new beliefs. The belief will follow the practice, not the other way around. I remember guiding a client, an incredibly gifted therapist named David, through this practice. The first time he tried it, he told me he couldn't even get the words out. He stood in front of the mirror and just felt a wave of self-loathing wash over him. All he could see were his perceived flaws. It was a painful experience, but he was courageous. He committed to the practice. For the first week, he could only whisper the words. Sometimes his voice would crack, but he kept showing up. Around week 2, something shifted. He told me, Elias, today I was saying I am worthy of love, and for the first time I felt a little flicker of something. It wasn't full belief, but it wasn't total disbelief either. It was a possibility. That flicker is everything. That is the first sprout breaking through the soil. David continued his practice. By the end of the month, he was no longer just saying the words. He was feeling them. He was looking himself in the eye with a sense of kindness, of compassion, of a newfound friendship with the man in the mirror. This inner shift had a direct outer consequence. His therapy practice, which had been stagnant for years, suddenly started to grow. Clients reported feeling a new sense of safety and acceptance in his presence. Of course they did. He was finally giving it to himself. This practice is the gym for your self-worth. It is where you go to build the muscle of self-acceptance. You are literally carving new pathways in your brain, pathways that say, I am worthy, I am deserving. It is safe to receive. You are changing your self-image at the most fundamental subconscious level. And since your outer world is a mirror of your inner world, as your self-image changes, your reality must change to match it. Committing to this practice for 30 consecutive days will have a more profound impact on your financial reality than reading 30 books on financial strategy. Because you are not fixing the symptom, you are healing the cause. You are not chasing wealth. You are becoming a person who is a natural, resonant match for it. This practice is a cornerstone of our alchemical work, and I want to anchor this for you right now. Pause for a moment, and in the comments below, I want you to share one of the declarations that you know will be the most challenging and the most healing for you to say to yourself. Is it, I am worthy of wealth? Is it, I am worthy of peace? By declaring it publicly, you take the first step towards embodying it. You have cleared the past. You are now imprinting a new truth of your own worthiness. You can see your value. The next logical and crucial step in our journey is to learn how to let the universe see it too. You must learn how to open the gates and allow the abundance that is now looking for you to actually find its way in. For this, we must master the often overlooked feminine art of receptivity. This brings us to our 10th principle, the principle of receptive allowing. Chapter 10. The principle of receptive allowing. Opening the floodgates, we have ventured deep into the inner landscape of our being. We have faced the past and cleansed its energetic residue with the fire of forgiveness. We have stood before the mirror and begun the sacred work of imprinting a new reality, of remembering the unshakable truth of our own worth. A profound inner shift is occurring. You are beginning to resonate at a new frequency. You are becoming a beacon for the very abundance you once felt you were chasing, and so, the universe, in its infinite responsiveness, begins to answer your new call. Opportunities begin to stir. Synchronicities start to appear. People, ideas, and resources that are a match for your new vibration begin to move toward you. The energy you have been cultivating is now being reflected back to you. But this is where a new, subtle, and often invisible obstacle can arise. The gifts of the universe can be laid at our doorstep, but if the door is bolted from the inside, they cannot enter. It is one thing to become worthy of receiving. It is another thing entirely to allow ourselves to receive. This brings us to our 10th principle, a principle that requires us to balance the masculine energy of action and intention with the equally powerful feminine energy of surrender and openness. This is the principle of receptive allowing. Our society is deeply conditioned in the masculine arts of doing. We are taught to strive, to pursue, to achieve, to make things happen. These are valuable and necessary energies. But we are largely uneducated in the feminine arts of being, the art of receiving, of allowing, of creating an open space for blessings to land. For many of us, especially those who have built an identity around being a hard worker or self-sufficient, receiving can feel incredibly vulnerable. It can trigger our deepest fears of being indebted, of losing control, or of being a burden. To receive a gift, a compliment, or even help requires us to momentarily let go of our fierce independence and simply be present to the generosity of the universe, often expressed through another person. This can be terrifying. Let's make this tangible. Think about the last time someone gave you a genuine, heartfelt compliment. What was your immediate reflexive response? Did you receive it fully? Did you breathe it in, make eye contact, and say a simple, gracious thank you? Or did you do what most of us are trained to do? Did you deflect it? Oh, it was nothing. Did you minimize it? Anyone could have done it. Did you immediately fire a compliment back, as if you were playing a game of hot potato with the positive energy? This small, seemingly insignificant habit is a microcosm of a much larger energetic pattern. Deflecting a compliment is, on an energetic level, the same as deflecting an opportunity, a gift, or a flow of money. It is a declaration to the universe that says, I am not a worthy or safe destination for this positive energy. Please send it elsewhere. It is like a cosmic delivery driver arriving at your home with a valuable package, and you shout through the door, No, I couldn't possibly. Take it to my neighbor. I once coached a woman, a brilliant healer named Helen, who embodied this paradox perfectly. She was the most generous person I knew, always giving her time, energy, and wisdom freely. But she was in a state of constant financial struggle. Her clients would often try to give her bonuses or lavish gifts to express their gratitude, and it would make her intensely uncomfortable. She would refuse them or tell them to donate the money to charity. She believed she was being humble and spiritual. In one of our sessions, the truth came out. Growing up, her mother had been a master of gift-giving with strings attached. Every gift came with a hidden expectation, a debt that would be called in later. Helen had learned from a young age that receiving was dangerous. It meant being controlled, being indebted. Her refusal to receive in her adult life was not humility. It was a deeply ingrained trauma response. She had built an energetic fortress around herself to stay safe, but that same fortress was preventing the supply she desperately needed from getting in. Her healing journey was all about this 10th principle. It was about learning, in small, safe ways, to allow herself to receive. It started with compliments. Her practice was simply to say thank you and then stay silent, to breathe and to actually let the positive energy land in her body. It felt excruciating at first. Then we moved on to small gifts. Then finally to money. She had to consciously practice receiving payments from clients with gratitude and openness, seeing it not as a dangerous debt, but as a clean, clear, beautiful reflection of the healing she had facilitated. As she slowly dismantled her inner fortress and learned the art of receptive allowing, her financial reality began to transform. She was no longer blocking the very abundance that had been trying to reach her all along. The principle of receptive allowing is an active skill, not a passive state. It is the conscious practice of opening your energetic hands so that the universe can place its gifts within them. How do you practice this? You master the art of the thank you. You practice receiving compliments, praise, and appreciation with a simple, open-hearted thank you. No justifications, no deflections. You see it as a gift of energy, and you honor the giver by receiving it fully. You embrace just because. Gifts. You allow yourself to receive and enjoy things just because, not as a reward for hard work. Not because you earned it, but simply because you are worthy of experiencing beauty and pleasure. This could be buying yourself flowers, taking an afternoon off to read in the park, or investing in something that brings you joy without having a practical purpose. You are training your nervous system to accept goodness without needing a reason. You practice asking for and receiving help. This is a major one for the self-sufficient. The next time you are struggling with something, practice asking for help. And when it is offered, receive it graciously. This is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of wisdom. It declares that you are part of an interconnected web and are willing to both give and receive support. You create space in your life. Abundance cannot flow into a life that is cluttered and frantic. If your schedule is packed from dawn till dusk, where is the space for a new opportunity to land? Where is the quiet time for an inspired idea to whisper to you? The act of deliberately scheduling empty space in your calendar, being time instead of doing time, is a powerful declaration of trust. It is you, holding the door open for the universe to walk in. This principle challenges the core of the hustle mentality. The hustler believes that empty space is wasted time. The alchemist knows that empty space is the very womb of creation. It is in the stillness that we become receptive. It is in the allowing that our true power is revealed. You have done the work of clearing your past. You have done the work of knowing your worth. You have done the work of aligning your energy. Now your final piece of inner work is to simply get out of your own way, to unclench your fists, open your hands, and trust that what is meant for you will not pass you by, so long as you are willing to receive it. But receive it for what purpose? As we near the completion of our circle, we must infuse all of this work with a sense of meaning that transcends our own personal gain. We must connect our newfound abundance to our deepest reason for being here. For wealth without meaning is the most hollow of victories. This brings us to our 11th and perhaps most vital principle, the principle of purposeful profit. Chapter 11, the principle of purposeful profit. Aligning wealth with your why. We have journeyed through the vast landscapes of the inner world. We have cleared the past, owned our worth, tuned our frequency, and opened ourselves to receive. We are now standing on the threshold of a new reality, ready to welcome a flow of abundance that was previously inaccessible to us. The channels are clear, the gates are open, but now we must ask the most important question of all: why? Why do you desire this abundance? For what purpose are you undertaking this profound alchemical work? If the answer is simply to have more stuff, to feel secure, or to prove my worth, the foundation we have built, as strong as it is, will eventually begin to crack. Wealth that is tethered only to the needs of the ego is like a magnificent ship with no rudder. It is impressive, but ultimately it is directionless and can easily be dashed upon the rocks of materialism or existential emptiness. To create abundance that is not only sustainable, but also deeply fulfilling, we must anchor it to something far greater than ourselves. We must connect our financial aspirations to our soul's deepest calling. This is the 11th principle, the one that infuses our entire journey with sacred meaning, the principle of purposeful profit. This principle states that profit is not the goal, it is the fuel. Wealth is not the destination. It is the vehicle. The true purpose of cultivating abundance is to provide your soul with a larger container, with more resources, and with greater freedom to carry out its unique mission in the world, your why. This is the principle that finally and completely dissolves the war between spirituality and wealth. It reveals them not as enemies, but as inseparable partners in the dance of a meaningful life. When your pursuit of profit is intrinsically linked to the fulfillment of your purpose, the act of earning money becomes a sacred spiritual act. Building a successful business is no longer a sellout. It is an act of service. Wise investing is no longer a game of greed. It is the act of planting seeds for a future you wish to see created. Financial success is no longer a measure of your ego's victory, but a measure of the impact your soul is making on the world. Let's explore this with a thought experiment. I want you to imagine that I could wave a magic wand and solve all of your personal money problems forever. Your mortgage is paid. You have a portfolio that generates more than enough passive income to cover all your needs and desires for the rest of your life. You have total and complete financial freedom. Now what? After you take the long vacation, buy the dream car, and ensure your family is secure. What do you do with your days? What do you do with your life force? What problem in the world breaks your heart so much that you would dedicate your newfound resources to solving it? That is your why. Perhaps you would start a foundation to protect endangered animals. Perhaps you would create art and music of breathtaking beauty, unburdened by the need to make it commercial. Perhaps you would fund scholarships for underprivileged students. Perhaps you would build a sanctuary, a place for healing and retreat. Perhaps you would simply use your freedom to be a more present, loving and supportive parent, friend and community member. There is no right or wrong answer, but having an answer is everything. This why is the rudder for your ship. It is the North Star that guides every financial decision you make. I remember coaching a young tech entrepreneur. Let's call him Ben. He was incredibly driven, a classic hustler, working 80-hour weeks to get his startup off the ground. His stated goal was to become a millionaire by 30. He was burning out, his relationships were suffering, and he was losing the very passion that had started him on the journey. I asked him the same question. Ben, let's say you do it. You hit your number. You're a millionaire. Then what? He was taken aback. Like so many, he had been utterly fixated on the milestone, not on what lay beyond it. We spent an entire session exploring his why. It turned out that his deepest passion was for environmental conservation. He had grown up spending his summers in national parks and was heartbroken by the state of the planet. This revelation changed everything. His goal shifted from the ego-driven, become a millionaire, to the purpose-driven, build a company so successful that I can fund the reforestation of 1 million acres of land. The goal was now 1,000 times bigger, yet it felt 1,000,000 times lighter. It was no longer just about him. His energy transformed. He was no longer just a hustler. He was a man on a mission. This new purposeful energy became magnetic. He attracted investors who resonated with his vision, not just his projections. He hired employees who were passionate about the mission, not just the paycheck. His work was infused with a new level of creativity and inspiration. And yes, he became incredibly wealthy, but the wealth was no longer the point. It was the byproduct, the fuel that was now powering his real work in the world. This is the alchemy of purposeful profit. You are transforming the energy of personal ambition into the energy of collective contribution. And the universe always rewards a larger vision. When you ask the universe for money to buy a new watch, it may or may not respond. But when you ask the universe for the resources to help heal a corner of the world, you are no longer asking for yourself. You are making yourself a channel, a steward for a divine purpose. You are aligning your personal will with the universal will, and in that alignment, miracles happen. So how do you put this principle into practice? 1, you must define your why. You must get radically clear on it. Meditate on it. Journal about it. What is the contribution that only you can make? What legacy do you want to leave? Write it down. Make it a clear, concise mission statement for your financial life. You frame your goals in service of your why. Instead of, I want to increase my income by 20%, you reframe it as, I want to generate an additional X dollars to be able to make a significant contribution to your cause and fund the next stage of my purposeful work. This connects every dollar you earn to a deep sense of meaning. You practice purposeful spending. As a conscious steward, you begin to see your spending not just as consumption, but as voting. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. You support businesses that align with your values. You invest in quality, in sustainability, in people who are doing good work. Your money becomes an active agent of your purpose. When profit is tethered to purpose, the guilt and shame we have worked so hard to dissolve simply cannot survive. How can you feel guilty for wanting to earn more when you know that every extra dollar is fuel for your highest contribution? The conflict is resolved. Spirituality and wealth are now one, working in perfect harmony, moving in the same sacred direction. We have now journeyed through 11 of the 12 principles. We have built a complete, holistic system for inner and outer transformation. We have cleared the past, owned the present, and defined a purposeful future. All that remains is the final crucial step, to weave all of these threads together, to move from practicing these principles to becoming them, to live not just as a student of alchemy, but as the alchemist themselves. This is the final integration, the capstone of our great work. This brings us to our 12th and final principle, the principle of integrated abundance. Chapter 12, the principle of integrated abundance, living the alchemical truth. We have arrived at the final stage of our journey together. We have traveled from the depths of the shadow, confronting the leaden weight of our guilt, and ascended to the heights of purpose, connecting our desire for wealth to the stars of our soul's highest calling. We have gathered the 12 sacred principles, not as mere intellectual concepts, but as living, breathing tools for the transmutation of our reality. We have cleared the ground. We have laid the foundation. We have built the temple. Now we must learn to live within it. It is one thing to visit a sacred site. It is another thing entirely to become the sanctuary itself. This brings us to our 12th and final principle, the capstone that locks all the others into a cohesive, unshakable arch. This is not a new action to take, but a new way to be. This is the principle of integrated abundance. Integration is the process whereby the student disappears and the master emerges. It is the point at which you no longer need to consciously practice the principles because you have become the principles. They are no longer a set of rules you follow. They are the very marrow of your bones, the automatic, default operating system of your consciousness, the integrated alchemist. The one who embodies this final principle no longer lives in a world of division. For them, there is no longer spiritual life and financial life, there is just life. It is a seamless whole, a unified field of conscious, purposeful creation. Every act is a spiritual act. Every transaction is a meditation. What does this look like in the day-to-day reality of a human life? It looks like waking up in the morning, and your first thought is not one of lack or a frantic mental review of your to-do list, but a simple, quiet, and genuine feeling of gratitude for the breath in your lungs and the safety of your bed. This is the embodiment of grateful exchange. It looks like standing in front of the mirror, and the face looking back at you is not an object of critique, but a dear and trusted friend. You meet your own gaze with kindness and acceptance, a silent acknowledgement of the divine spark within. This is the embodiment of the mirror of worth. It looks like reviewing your bank account, and instead of your stomach clenching with fear or your ego swelling with pride, you feel a calm sense of purpose. You see the numbers not as a measure of your worth, but as a measure of the energy you are currently managing. You are a calm, confident, and responsible caretaker. This is the embodiment of conscious stewardship. It looks like receiving an unexpected bill in the mail, and while you may feel a momentary human flicker of concern, your dominant response is not panic. It is a deep, abiding trust in the flow of the universe, a quiet knowing that you are supported and that the resources to meet this need will be provided. You see it as an opportunity to practice your faith in abundance. This is the embodiment of receptive allowing and energetic resonance. It looks like paying for your groceries. And as you hand over your money, you make eye contact with the cashier and offer a genuine smile, seeing them not as a functionary, but as a fellow soul. And you silently bless the exchange of energy that is nourishing your body and supporting their livelihood. This is grateful exchange in action. It looks like feeling a clear, intuitive nudge to start a new creative project, even when the rational mind cannot see the immediate financial payoff. You trust the lightness of the impulse. You act on it with joy and curiosity, knowing that you are crossing the bridge between the inner and outer worlds. This is the embodiment of inspired action, and most importantly, it looks like living a life where your daily work, the way you spend the majority of your waking hours, is a direct and joyful expression of your deepest why. Your profit is inextricably linked to your purpose. You feel a profound sense of satisfaction, knowing that your financial success is a direct result of the value and healing you are bringing into the world. This is the embodiment of purposeful profit. This is the life of integrated abundance. It is not a life free from challenges. The integrated alchemist is still human. The tides of life will still ebb and flow. There will still be moments of doubt and fear. But the difference is that these moments are no longer your home. They are just passing weather fronts in the vast, clear sky of your true nature. You have the tools. You have the awareness. You have the deep, unshakable knowing that your inner state creates your outer reality. And so, when a storm appears, you do not panic. You simply return to your practice. You return to the principles. You find your center, and you remember the truth. I want to tell you one final story. It's a simple Zen parable. A student asks his master, "What did you do before you were enlightened?" The master replies, "I chopped wood and carried water." The student then asks, "And what do you do now that you are enlightened?" The master smiles and replies, "I chop wood and carry water." This is the essence of integration. From the outside, your life may not look dramatically different. You still chop the wood of your daily tasks. You still carry the water of your responsibilities. But from the inside, everything has changed. The energy with which you perform these tasks is no longer one of struggle, of lack, of proving yourself. It is an energy of presence, of purpose, of flow. You are no longer doing these things in order to become abundant. You are doing them from a state of abundance, and that changes everything. The journey we have taken together through these 12 principles is not a race to a finish line. There is no moment where you will receive a certificate and be declared the Abundance Alchemist. It is a spiral path, one you will walk for the rest of your life, each cycle taking you deeper into the mystery and the mastery of who you truly are. You now have the map. You have the compass. You have a complete system for the transmutation of your reality from the inside out. You have everything you need. The great work is now yours to live. You are not just a student of these principles. You are their living embodiment. You are the proof that spirituality and wealth are not two, but one. You are a walking, talking sanctuary of integrated abundance. You are the alchemist. Outro, your first alchemical step. And so we conclude this chapter of our great work. The 12 principles of sacred wealth are now a part of your consciousness. You have been given the keys to unlock the chains of spiritual guilt and the map to the treasure of integrated, soul-aligned abundance. You now understand that abundance is not something you acquire. It is the truth of who you are, but this understanding is only the beginning. The real alchemy happens in the laboratory of your life. So I issue you a challenge. In the next 24 hours, take one deliberate action based on one of these principles. Perhaps you will perform the forgiveness ledger. Perhaps you will stand before the mirror. Or perhaps you will simply receive a compliment with a simple, open-hearted thank you without deflecting it. Choose one small act to declare to the universe that your transformation has begun. Your journey does not end here. On the screen now, you will see 2 paths forward. On the left is the full Start Here, the Foundations of Abundance playlist, where you can continue your journey from the beginning. On the right is the next step the universe has chosen for you, which will deepen your understanding of this topic. Choose the path that resonates most. And of course, if you have not already, I warmly invite you to subscribe to our Circle of Alchemists. Our work together has just begun. This is Elias Vance reminding you the greatest wealth you will ever own is the knowledge of who you truly are.